Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world today. I have a very interesting guest with me via Zoom. Unfortunately, he is not here in my studio or at home. I wish that was true. A very good friend of mine. We go all the way back to Bangalore, who has now become a star in Bombay. He followed his dreams, and his story is something where that epitomizes the parable of the dream coming true in Bollywood, the city of dreams. Okay, here we have with Gulshan Devaya. Gulshan, namaskara, and a warm welcome to you to America.
Thank you very much for having me over at America, and thank you for the introduction. It's a really nice introduction. I approve of it.
Now, Gulshan, I want to start this interview by going back to your start, your roots, which is in Bangalore. That's where you grew up, and that's where we met. I had the privilege of working with you in a play, and we are going to talk a little bit in Kannada now for our America audience. I know this is for the larger South Asian audience, but let's talk some Kannada. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡಪ್ಪ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀಯ
So, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ. Yes, we can be bilingual. So ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕನ್ವೀನಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಾವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಸ್ವಿಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು.
Okay, now tell me about tell me in Kannada about your Bangalore life and where you grew up and how it all began, and let's hear all that in Kannada, in Namma Kannada.
ಸರಿ. ನಾನು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ನನ್ನ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕೊಡಗಿನಿಂದ, ಕೂರ್ಗಿಂದ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ 76 ಇಂದ ಅವರು ಭಾರತ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ದೇ ಮೆಟ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್. ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಂದನೂ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಯ್ತು. ಸೊ ದೇ ಫೆಲ್ ಇನ್ ಲವ್, ಮದುವೆ ಆಯ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಬಾರ್ನ್ ಜಾಲಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಬಾರ್ನ್. ಭಾರತ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಬಾರ್ನ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನನ್ನ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಜಾಲಹಳ್ಳಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಕ್ಲೂನಿ ಕಾನ್ವೆಂಟ್ ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ ನಾನು. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಂದಾನೇ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾಡೋದು, ನಾಟಕ ಇದ್ರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ರುಚಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅವರು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಭಾರತ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪನಿ. ಅವರು ಇಂಟರ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಕಾಂಪಿಟಿಷನ್ಸ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ಇಂಟ್ರಾ ಕಂಪನಿ ಕಾಂಪಿಟಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಒಂದು 5-6 ಇಯರ್ಸ್, ನಾನು 5 ವರ್ಷ 6 ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ದಾಗೆ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರ ನಾಟಕ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಂದ ನನ್ಗೊಂಥರ ರುಚಿ ಇತ್ತು ಆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಒಂಥರ ರುಚಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ, ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಟ್ ಹಿಂದಿ ಹಾಡುಗಳು ತುಂಬಾ ಹಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ನಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಅದೊಂದು ಹಿಂದಿ ಚಿತ್ರರಂಗದ ಒಂದು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಡ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅವರು ಹಾಡುಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾನು ಐ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆಡ್. ಸೊ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ನಡ ಹಾಡು ಹಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಮಲಯಾಳಂ ಹಾಡು ಹಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಕೊಡಗಿನವರಲ್ವಾ, ಸೊ ದೇ ಸ್ಪೀಕ್ ಮಲಯಾಳಂ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಸೊ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಗ್ರೋ ಅಪ್ ಇನ್ ಕೂರ್ಗ್, ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕ್ ಮಲಯಾಳಂ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಆ ಸಿನಿಮಾನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಗಳ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ನಾವು. ಬಟ್ ಒಂಥರ ಹಿಂದಿ ಚಲನಚಿತ್ರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂಥರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಅಫಿಲಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇತ್ತು ನಮ್ದು, ನನ್ನ ಸೈಡ್ ಇಂದ. ಸೊ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಂದ ನಾನು ಹಿಂದಿ ಚಿತ್ರರಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಏನೋ ಆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನನ್ಗೊಂದು ಆಸೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಫೈನಲಿ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ತುಂಬಾ ನಾಟಕ, ಅಂತದೇನೋ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್, ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ನಾನು ತುಂಬಾ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿನ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನೋಡಿ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಟು ಫಾಲೋ ದಟ್ ಪಾತ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ದೆನ್ 2008 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಫೈನಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಂದ ನಂದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ನಾವು ನಾಟಕನೂ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ನಾವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಾವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್ ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು.
ರಂಗಶಂಕರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಶೋ ಆಗಿತ್ತು.
ಇತ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಬಟ್ ಅನ್ಫಾರ್ಚುನೇಟ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದೊಂದು ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ.
Incidentally, Gulshan, that play was my last play in India before I left for the US.
Before you moved,
Yeah.
Before you...
I never knew that would be my last play because I used to be so regular on stage in Bangalore. While I was doing it, I never imagined that I would, as an actor, that would be my last play in Bangalore stage. Strange.
Yeah, I didn't know also. Then you moved here. But you have also, you CR Simha ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಬಹಳ ಮಹಾನ್ ಕಲಾವಿದರ ಜೊತೆ ನೀವು ನಾವು ಅಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ.
ನೀನು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿದ್ಯಪ್ಪ ನೀನು. ಆ,
ನಾನು ಬಹಳ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ ನಾನು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡ ನಾಟಕ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಂದನೇ ನನ್ನ ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಅದು ಏನೋ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಐ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ 2001 ಇಂದ ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ ಇಂದಾನೇ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟೀಸ್ ನನಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದು. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ.
but I remember you told me that you were when we met. You told me you were a graphic designer. Avagala, you were into some
ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಷನ್. ನಾನು
fashion. Yeah,
ನಂದು PUC ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಐ ಜಾಯಿನ್ಡ್ NIFT, ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ.
I remember you. You're the first guy I met who wore red
Yeah.
pants back then. You,
I was very amongst you all. I was very fashionable. Yes.
oh yeah, and you had long hair. You had like shoulder length hair.
Long hair. I had pretty long hair. Then I cut that hair also later. I've gone through like really short hair, long hair. ಎಲ್ಲ ಫೇಸಸ್ ನಾನು ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಡಿಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಷನ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು 2000 ಇಂದ 2008 ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂಬೈಗೆ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋ ತನಕ ನಾನು ಐ ವಾಸ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಫ್. ಐ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಟೀಚ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ನಾವು ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿಸ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನಲ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ವಿಗನ್ ಡಿಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಲೇಜ್.
Okay.
ಸೊ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಾರೀಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲು ನಾನು ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡೋದು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನಾನು ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಡ್ ಅಟ್ ವಿಗನ್ ಡಿಲ್ಲಿ.
Okay.
ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್, ಬಟ್ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕಲ್ಟಿ. 2-3 years ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ. So I was
Nice.
doing a variety of things. I had my own. I set up my own business also with some friends, and then I left that. I think now ಭೇಟಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ನಾನು I had just emerged from an illness. ನನಗೆ ಇದು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಜಾಂಡಿಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು ನನಗೆ.
Oh really? Okay.
So I had lost nearly about 18 kilos. I had lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just emerged from that. ಆವಾಗ ಇವರು ಫೋರಂ 3 ಅವ್ರು ಕರೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈಗ ನಾವು ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಮೈ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ or ಥರ್ಡ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ವಿತ್ ದೆಮ್. ನಾನು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 2 ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಸೊ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫೋರಂ 3 ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಮಾರಿಸ್ ದ ಲೆಜೆಂಡ್ ಅವರು ಹಳೆ ನಾಟಕ ನಾವು ರಿವೈವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಹೊಸ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರು ಕರೆದಿದ್ರು.
Okay.
So I just opened it, and I was very skinny at that time because I had lost a lot of weight, and I think that hair also had remained from that.
Okay.
I hadn't cut my hair through my recovery, so it just stayed long again. So that was the What was the ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತಿದ್ದೆ ನಾನು ಮರ್ತೋಯ್ತು.
Okay, tell me this, Gulshan. One of the biggest challenges us people growing up in South, Bangalore or Chennai, I guess it's the same issue, is going to Bombay is like going to a different country almost, right? And but you went there, built a career from the scratch, and looks like you haven't done too badly either. You started your career with Anurag Kashyap's That Girl in Yellow Boots, with Kalki Kekla and Nasruddin Shah. And then you did Dam Maro Dam. Then that was Rohan Sipis with Abhishek Bachchan, Bipasha Basu, and Pratik Babbar. Then you were in Shaitan again with Kalki. And then I think that you won you a lot of awards. You won Filmfare, Screen Awards, Stardust Awards, and everything. And then
I was nominated for a lot of them.
Yeah.
I didn't win any, but I was nominated. But
Oh, you were
my
nominated,
first
yeah.
year, 2011 was my first year, because all my releases started in 2011. So your career starts from your first release. It was a great year for me, and I was very fortunate also that I was there at the right place at the right time, and I met the right people. All of these people, like, they took really good care of me. I never felt that they were exploiting me, or they genuinely respected me and trusted me, more importantly, with the roles that they gave me,
Okay.
be it small or a larger part in Shaitan, and subsequently I went on to do films like Hunter and Marth Kudar Niyota.
Okay.
So I think I got the opportunity to win a lot of people over, and I don't think everybody is fortunate that when you come to a strange town. I had never been to Mumbai. It was the first time I was coming to Mumbai. Actually, the first time I came to Mumbai was 2006, but that was the Prithvi Theatre Festival. I was performing here, so that was the first time I came here. And then when I moved here permanently in 2008, I didn't know many people. I just knew a few people who were from the theatre, and I really didn't have any plan as to this is what I'll do. And I was interested in trying to find a sort of a start in the film industry, because I was very much interested in cinema, and I always thought of myself as an actor, as a cinema actor. But my rearing, I was reared as an actor on the stage, so I learned everything about the craft of acting on the stage. So I started with that. I started working with the theatre group. I started working doing plays, and then opportunities came by. You would be invited for auditions and things like that. There's one thing that I did which I don't know I would recommend people to do or not, but it definitely worked for me. Is that I was very reserved in terms of putting myself out there. Usually what happens is that you're advised to just go and meet as many people as possible and do as many auditions as possible. Somehow I was very reluctant to follow that procedure, because I was exhausted. Because I had a look at it, because every day you just wake up in the morning, you change clothes, you sometimes carry change of clothes, and you travel, and the Mumbai weather can be really humid and sweaty. And then you go to 15, 16 different places doing various auditions, and you're exhausted by that. Somehow I realized that I'm not going to do that. I had a bit of money that I had made from my career in fashion before moving here. So I didn't really have to worry about paying the bills and all that very much. So I had a bit of a safety. So, and another advantage was that my parents didn't really depend on me to run their household. So they were also very self-sufficient. So that took off the pressure. If I had that pressure, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have moved to Mumbai. So that was an advantage that I had. So
And another advantage you had, I don't think I've ever told you this, is that you are a fantastic actor. The
yeah,
very first time I saw you in rehearsals, I'm like, wow, this guy can act. I think
yeah,
you
that
played
year I
this
did.
you played this character that required you to wear a turban,
Yeah,
and you were wearing a turban in rehearsals too, just to get used to it. And I we saw you do it, and I'm like. And Ranjan used to be in the habit of giving points to everybody. Remember that? He used to say,
yeah,
"Okay, this guy is at 50, this guy is at 60 out of 100,"
I
and
remember.
after yours, he asked, "So how many points do we give him?" I remember somebody said 80, somebody said 90, somebody said 100, and he said, "No, they're not. He's not so high yet. Yeah, maybe in the upper 60s." But yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember something. I remember something. I don't know. Maybe you can beat this out. I remember something at one of the rehearsals. You said that because I swear I called somebody a bastard and that was one of the dialogues. And you mentioned that that's exactly how you're supposed to say
Did I?
bastard.
Did I say
Yeah,
that?
because
Okay, that's.
you were saying it so well. That's how you're
I
supposed
don't
to say
remember that. That's yeah, maybe
it.
yeah, you did.
I remember that because you meant it as a compliment, of course. So
Yeah.
and I think we were doing a table read or we were doing an improv rehearsal, something. Some rehearsal session was going on, and then you actually said that that's how, if you want to swear, that's how you should swear. That's really good. I remember that.
No, I remember a few things from that, and another thing I remember you said is I think it was the opening night. I was just about to take my entry, and you were standing by the wings in
Yeah,
costume and everything, and you were like, as I
you're
was
playing.
about to, I was Valmiki, yeah, so as I was about to enter, you looked at me and said, "Anand, saka tak barasbeko." I remember that. So these little things we remember. Yeah, we remember people complimenting us and criticizing us both. But so some of these little quirks that happen during rehearsals, though, those are
Yeah.
great experiences too.
I think those plays, that play in particular, and subsequently the plays that I did after that, were great
Hmm.
confidence boosters in me, because I think I had started to evolve as an actor.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the opportunity to study acting or theater or drama. I didn't have the access to sort of, and I didn't have the know-how also to how to go about it. So I had to learn on the job. So working with people like yourself and the others, and also
Chandru was there. Our CK
yeah,
Chandru was in it. Yeah.
yeah, and watching them, and I also did a lot of work with BLT, with Mr. Vijay Padaki. So, so those exposures and those directors really kind of gave me those opportunities and nurtured me as an actor. So the play that we did together, Marish the Legend, I think I had done already 2 or 3 plays before that, and I had just started to feel comfortable on stage, and sometimes we have these ideas, we want to do this, we want to do that, but we're not quite able to do that because we're not ready. Somewhere like the energy is not
Yeah,
right, or you have
yeah.
really understood things. So it had really started to the actor inside me had started to sort of emerge. So that gave me a lot of confidence, which also helped when I came to Mumbai. So I was like, I may not know anybody, I don't know how to go about it. But one thing I'm sure about is that I'm sure about my abilities and my craft, that I'm quite solid. Like if given the opportunities, I think I'll definitely be able to make a lot of those opportunities. So I had that self assurance and self confidence I had in me, and that had started to happen from that play that we did together.
And the most important role, if you ask me, in your career, no, I don't know who am I to talk about your career, but anyway, I
Of
think
course,
was
no, your opinion is interesting. Yeah, please give
I
me.
think it was in Ramlila.
That's what
You,
you think.
you played the villain in Ramlila. I think that's what gave you that recognition. Because even now here, when I mention your name, the first name people think of is Gulshan Grover. Then I say
Okay.
not Grover, it's Devaya. Then the minute I say Ramlila, the villain in Ramlila, oh yeah, of course, yeah, we know this guy. So can you talk a little about
I
that
think
role?
I think with the Indian diaspora abroad, it may be so. It may be Ram Leela because it was a much wider release. It was a bigger film. It had a much wider release, like 3,500 to 4,000 screens, perhaps. So that definitely gives you more reach. And I think it's a film that was more watched abroad as well. But according to my opinion and generally popular opinion over here within the industry and within the subcontinent, is Hunter. Like that's the film that most
Hunter.
people. Yes, yeah, that's
I remember Mandar Pongshe.
yeah. So my whatever reputation I have, I think that was built from Hunter. But I also look at my sort of when I look at my career, I think there are three stages in my career. Like there are three films that I would consider really important, that really helped me sort of keep going ahead. Like you start to feel that your career is moving ahead. So that was Shaitan, because Shaitan made a lot of noise when it released. It didn't really go down the box office as like a huge money earner or things like that, which would have been nice because it empowers actors. But it made a lot of noise. It was a very different sort of a film, and a lot of people, particularly the young crowd, really enjoyed that film because it was so trippy and different. So that really, and nobody had really seen me, and it was my first year. I told you, 2011, I had three different films, three different kind of roles, and I think the most watched and most enjoyed of them was Shaitan. So it was also interesting because Damaradam was playing in the cinemas and Shaitan trailer was attached to it. So everybody would watch my trailer first and then see me do a part in Damaradam. So that also kind of added to the whole, like it kind of amplified, like, who's this guy? So I got great reviews for it. Then it was definitely Hunter, because it's my most watched film. Like I rarely come across anybody who hasn't watched it, and if they haven't watched it, they usually lie that they haven't watched it. And
How
then
did you approach that character, Gulu? How did you
for me,
approach
it
her?
was when I read the script, I got a feeling that this is a sort of an Amol Palekar film. Like it reminded me of a very Amol Palekar film from the early to mid 70s. A very average person, and he was very good at it. He had made a career out of playing this average Indian, middle class average Indian person, and that was his style, and he was known for that. Whereas Mr. Bachchan was the angry young man, or there were some other leading men who were known for, like, they had something else. So like Rishi Kapoor was the romantic one and things like that, and Dharmender was the action, like the the Punjab Da Gabru and all that. So I
Yeah.
think Mr. Amol Palekar had this image, and also the kind of films that he did also were very more accessible to the middle class. They weren't that larger than life. The characters were more rooted to reality. So it reminded me of that. The film that eventually a lot of people saw, Hunter, it was originally titled Vasu. So it wasn't called Hunter. It was a strategic decision made by the producers to sort of change the name to Hunter, because Vasu and Vasugiri is a very colloquial term that's used by the particularly Mumbaikars use that thing. Like, "Hey, ye to Vasu hai, ye Vasugiri karta hai." So it means, matlab, लड़की लौंडिया बाज.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of means that. So it wasn't communicating properly. So they changed it to Hunter, and some additional scenes were also shot later to package it, to sort of sell it as a film about a so-called sex addict and things like that. So originally when we were shooting, it wasn't there. So the script that I read didn't have a lot of the scenes that we eventually made it to the film. So it gave me that. So that's why it gave me that very Amal Palekarish thing. So once I got the sensibility of the film, I had this discussion with Harshvardhan Kulkarni. He's from Dharwad actually. Uh, so he is also another Kannadi guy. His father is a famous poet. I think his father was friends with Bendre also.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or he knew Bendre or something like that.
Okay.
So, so I discussed it with Harshvardhan that it's a sort of a Mandara is a sort of a Amol Palekar character, and he was like, "Yeah, you're right, like bang on. This is the sensibility of the film." So that really interested me, and I also liked the fact that Harsh was looking at me differently because most of the roles that were offered to me were either villainous or angry or like people who do a lot of drugs or like perpetually pissed off or like want revenge or something like that, very intense roles. So this wasn't an intense role. This is very light, very average, almost a loser. I mean, if you didn't know about his activity behind closed doors, nobody would really care about Mandar. He's like really your very, very average to below average kind of a person. So that really interested me. And it was a comedy also, so it gave me something really interesting and new to do, which I hadn't done before. So this was generally my approach. I think I got the sensibility really early on.
That's wonderful. And you also played a couple of very interesting roles of Karate Money and Jimmy opposite Vidyut Jamwal in Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota.
Vidyut and I did Commando.
Uh-huh.
Vidyut is not there in Marth Ko Dard Nahi
Oh,
Hota.
sorry.
So
Sorry about that. Okay.
yeah,
Who?
that's a different action film. So
Okay.
there's this new guy called Abhimanyu Dasani. So it's his first movie. So
Mm-hmm.
Abhimanyu and I are in Marth Ko Dard Nahi Hota, and I have the double role of the twin brothers, and one of them is the antagonist. And I did Commando 3 with Vidyut, where I play the antagonist opposite, and of course I get my ass kicked in the UK. So that's a different role. That's a different role. You got it mixed up.
So now this is a. I'll switch to a very serious question now. You are an outsider in the industry, right? And we get to hear so much about the the tumult and the problems and the
Yeah,
crises faced by outsiders in the industry. And how do
yeah.
you how have you felt it? Do you at any point have you felt that you've been left with the short end of the stick being an outsider in the industry?
I definitely have been left at the short end of the stick, but so have everybody else. I When I came here, I was extremely uncomfortable because it was not a familiar place.
Mm-hmm.
I came with the self confidence that I was good enough as an actor. I had the chops to sort of show impress people, and then and that I'd be able to get work because I am good enough, and I had that confidence. But I wasn't really comfortable with being in award functions or like sitting amongst movie stars who you have only seen on the TV screens or on the cinema screens. So I never really found myself comfortable. I remember I had gone to a lot of those movie stars' houses also, and I was really uncomfortable. And that kind of shook me up also because I started to feel that if I don't feel comfortable, then I will never belong here, which means that others will also not look at me as I belong. So I never looked at somebody else and said that, you're not making me comfortable. I thought that prerogative is mine, that I should feel good enough, I should feel confident enough from within about myself and who am I am as a person. And actors usually sometimes hide behind characters. You play characteristics. I used to do that, and I was very uncomfortable as myself. So I had to figure out to be comfortable as myself. Because when you are not in a movie, when you're in a function or in an award ceremony or among your peers or your colleagues, you are as yourself and you have to be comfortable with yourself. A lot of hue and cry is made out about who's deserving and who's not deserving, and I'm on a lot of those lists of underrated or more deserving and all that. It's very nice, but art generally is very subjective. You can't really measure it. It's not like a race that two people are running and who came first can be measured on a time. right?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually determine. Or you sit for a mathematics exam, who scored more comes first, the second person comes second. You can actually measure it, you can quantify it. Or a sales job, like who sold more units of like whatever, noodles or like toothpaste. So that person has sold more units than the other units. Or it's like a rail, it's not a railways entrance exam that like you get this many marks, so you get a job or something like that. It's very subjective. So you may like some actor's performance over somebody else's opinion may be otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So how can one demand merit under such circumstances, right? I don't think you can demand merit, and that's exactly what is going on, which I don't agree at all. I have a very unpopular opinion about it. And coming down to politics, yes, this industry has a lot of politics. There is a lot of favoritism. People favor certain people over others, but that need not necessarily mean that the favoritism happens within the certain families. A lot of outsiders, I've known a lot of people, including myself, who've not got jobs because somebody didn't want you in that film because they felt insecure, they didn't like you or whatever, and they didn't come from any of the high families. They were all like people who came there and worked their asses off and made their names for themselves. They also do the same thing. It's always there, and it's a bit of a cherry picking that's happening these days, in order to sort of favor a certain agenda, I suppose. I'm not saying that everything is right and everything is hunky dory. No, there's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of judgment, and people, they can definitely be a lot nicer to each other. But I never felt like an insider or an outsider, to be honest with you. I feel comfortable in the space that I am. I feel I belong here. That's because I feel like that. I did not let. It's not somebody else's prerogative to, or somebody else's responsibility to make me feel like that. I took away that decision from them. I decided that I have to feel comfortable here, because if I don't feel comfortable here, other people will also not see me here. So my projection has to be right. So that has always been my approach, and that would also be my, like, I would ask people to sort of consider my approach and see if they want to like follow that.
That's an amazing attitude. Do you think that you got that attitude from all those years of theater?
No,
And
I didn't necessarily. Maybe.
also,
Maybe.
I would say I think that your rise has been so steady and gradual that you had to work for it at every step. You know,
Yeah.
you were not meteoric. You know, you did not just explode one day. I think
Yeah.
that explains also because you got used to the system, and then you worked your
That's
way through
a
the system.
That's a very good observation, Anand. I think you're very right about what you just said. Your observation is very correct. I agree with you. I don't think I could have handled a meteoric rise. I don't think I was prepared for it. As I told you, the first few years I was petrified. I was petrified. I wanted to hide behind characters. I was really comfortable and very self-confident in playing characters, but very underconfident being myself. Like I remember going to award ceremonies wearing really nice clothes and being wet. Like my shirts and my undershirts used to be soaking wet inside
Wow.
because I was so nervous. And I was actually hoping and praying that I don't win an award, because I'll have to go on stage and I'll have to give a speech on television, because all of the award shows are packaged for television. So like you're on TV, like you don't want to make a fool of yourself or stand there and go bah, 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 I don't know what to say, like, or say something stupid or slur, or something like and make an idiot out of yourself. So I wanted to make a good impression, and I wasn't confident that I was going to make a good impression. So I couldn't have handled it. So your observation is bang on.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you still managed to look exactly like how you did 20 years ago. Well,
Yeah.
what's the secret?
Well, plastic surgery, drugs.
Oh, really? You got a boob job too while you were at it?
I got them reduced actually. Yeah, you can get them reduced. Get the fat like sucked out of your chest.
I never thought you had that problem, Gulu. Come on, you were always trim and
Think,
slim and
yeah, I think I figured out how to sort of take care of myself a little bit, and I always believe that actors should have like a very neutral physique, and this is
Mhm.
something that I learned from doing theater, because
Yeah.
I can't really remember where I read it, but I think a very famous theater actor or a director or something had put. I remember reading it somewhere that Peter Brook, perhaps, I don't know. So that actors should always have very neutral physiques. So you can go up or you can go down also. So it's
Yeah.
always So
I
I
heard
think I
something
already,
like that too, saying you
yeah.
should
So
be
I,
a blank canvas.
yeah, it should be a blank canvas. You shouldn't be too fat. You shouldn't be too thin. You shouldn't be like a bodybuilder, or you shouldn't be like very skinny. You should try and have a neutral. But also, like, genetics also plays a huge part in this one.
Yeah.
So I would say that I inherited certain youthful genetics from my parents, uh, in equal measure from my father as well as my mother. So I got a bit of a height from and complexion from my dad's side, and the rest of this slightly more youthfulness from my mother's side. I also then figured out what really works for me. So there are certain things. My eating habits are changed. Uh, I started doing things that I could consistently keep up with, and not like do like crash diets. Like you follow a particular diet or a workout regime for like 3 months, and then you completely like let go. So I learned, experimented, looked at other people. Gradually I figured out something that really works for me, and I started doing it. Now it's kind of set for me. I eat once a day. I eat as much as I can, just one time a day.
Oh,
I
that's an
don't drink
interesting
any,
diet.
yeah, I don't drink any alcohol. I don't eat any sugars. I don't eat any dairy. So
I don't think you were drinking alcohol even back then. I remember we had a couple of
I was.
parties and you
Yeah,
were
not so much, but then like I was. I maybe
you
with
were.
you all I didn't, but then like there was a phase.
So
I was.
you're one of the few Kodavas I know who's stays away
I
from
also.
alcohol.
Yeah, but because my family, my dad and mom both are like they don't drink. My mom doesn't drink, and my dad, uh, yeah, he doesn't like drinking, and he definitely can't handle his alcohol more than two
Okay.
teaspoons.
Okay,
So yeah.
that's good. That's good. I'm thinking about it too.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps me, I think I'm able to be consistent with it, and it's practical also for me to eat once a day. So when I'm traveling out, also, I find a time of day that's very convenient, and I eat once and I eat as much as I can, which is quite a hearty meal for one meal. I also have to do that because for the rest of the day, for 22 or 23 hours, I'm not eating again. So, and this
So,
I feel is really keeps my energy pretty static. It's fasting, so it's a kind of fasting. It also helps me keep in shape. Now because I'm homebound, I work out about like 5 or 6 times a week, every day for about like 45 minutes. But sometimes when I'm working, I don't work out at all. So just my eating habits just helps me keep be in that neutral shape that I was talking to you about, like that.
which is your most memorable role till date that always fondly remember?
It's really difficult for me to pick because I think all have been so varied and different, and all the experiences have, you know it's been very different working with, say, Bansali or with Anwar Kashyap or with Vasan Bala. So they're all very different directors, or Rohan Sithi. And I really had a lot of fun uh, and a very different experience working with all of them. So it's very difficult for me to choose, and I've always been a bit uh, not choosy, but then a little bit careful with the choices that I've made, because I think, because also, like, you would understand this because we come from theater, right? And we do all kinds of roles. We've done comedy roles, we've done serious roles,
Yeah.
we played old people, we played young people, we done all kinds of roles. We had big parts, we've done big parts, all sorts of things. Even we played trees and post boxes also when we were younger. So you don't really consider yourself as like, I want to do this kind of roles. But when you transition into like cinema or television, then a certain image becomes more predominant, and you start doing that kind of, you start getting offered that kind of work. And sometimes actors don't mind doing it. They don't mind doing the same kind of thing, because that propels their career, that makes them money, or whatever it's really working for them. But for me, having diversity was very important, because I think coming from theater, transitioning into cinema, that I really wanted to do, but I didn't want to lose out on the diversity that I had while doing theater. So I try to make those choices. So because I did that, I had to say no to a lot of work, and because of which each of these roles, it's very hard for me to pick like one over the other. But if you're putting a gun on my head and saying that, uh, then it has to be Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, because I had just had a really bad accident, shattered my right knee. I had decided I'm not going to work for the rest of the year, which was about 8 9 months, completely rehabilitate my knee, which went through a major surgery. So I wasn't taking up any work at all. And I just started my rehabilitation about 2 months after the surgery when this film came. And I had this sort of this compulsion that, if I say no to it, I will regret it and I will figure it out. So I kind of braved it. And of course, like a lot of the medical staff that I had engaged, they also helped me a lot to sort of get into a certain fitness and all that. So I think I mentally pushed myself, I physically pushed myself. I didn't achieve what I really wanted to do, but I was happy that, I found some strength in me to be able to do that. So I was sort of getting into that, like getting a bit depressed that, oh, this has happened to me. I don't know if, when I'll work again because I had chosen to do that. So, Mard ko dard nahi hota. If I have to really, it's a difficult choice, but since you said pick one, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hold a gun to your head, but you picked it anyway.
I did that.
Okay, 2 years back, I remember messaging with you back and forth, and you told me that you would, as much as possible, try not to get into the small screen because you want to always be seen on the big screen. That's what you prefer.
Yeah.
But looks like that's changing a little because you are in some series now for OTT platforms.
Yeah, but if people are watching it on small screens, that's their problem. It's not my problem. Like, they need to install a home theater system.
Yeah, they need to build a big TV. But yeah,
Yeah. No,
so yeah.
I'll tell you. If you want an explanation for that, I have an explanation. I grew up watching cinema. Cinema has influenced me, and I may have experienced a lot of my cinema through the small screen, but the cinematic experience is always paramount for me. I remember some of the greatest memories of cinema. I remember watching Schindler's List when I was a teenager. When I found it very difficult to get people to come and watch this film because, like, who's in this movie? I said, I don't know because back in the 90s, if Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Jackie Chan, these guys were not
Sylvester
in the film.
Stallone.
Yeah, if they were not in the films, nobody went to watch them. In my friends group, like, we don't even know who this is. Like, it's a Spielberg movie. Who's Spielberg? The guy who made E.T. Ah, yeah, that guy. But this is like so serious and all those things. So I
Arnold
went and watched.
Dilwad.
Yeah. But I went and watched it and I can't remember who somebody did. I dragged somebody with me, one or two other people. I don't remember. But it was I was moved. Like I was in tears after watching this film and I didn't know so much about the Holocaust and things like that. But that's the magic of cinema. That's the magic of it really completely, I was overcome with emotion watching all those things that I was watching on the big screen. And it's a brilliant movie. And at the same time, I remember watching Hum and Jumma Chumma when the song comes. It's a 7.5 minute song. I cannot explain to you how much fun I had watching that in a cinema with a crowd. And when Amitabh Bachchan comes and Kimi Katkar and that song, it's just like it's still there, fresh in my. So that's the magic of cinema, and that is why I didn't want to dilute my dreams by. And I was very adamant that this is the format, this is what I've dreamt about, and I will try and stay as true to it as possible. But times are changing, so I am trying to keep a balance. I'm not
Yep.
saying no to cinema. I'm still doing films that are releasing in the theater. Like March Ko Dard Nahi Hota did get a theatrical. Commando was a theatrical. Even Death in the Gunj was a theatrical release. Hunter was a theatrical release. But at the same time, when there are good stories made by good people, good, interesting characters that will help me, my craft that's interesting for me, and also which will further my career, which I can do in the OTT platforms, I will do them. So I'm diversifying right.
So in your films, do you design your own clothes because of
No,
your
not at,
fashion background?
not at all. Not once. I only use it to show off like something.
Only for your Instagram.
No, as in like when we're having a look test or something like that. No,
Okay.
I'll use a very technical term or something. They'll be like, how do you know this? Like, I went to fashion school, and then I'll show off. Like, I won so many awards for my design collection. But where did you study from NIFT? They're like, oh, you're from NIFT. Oh, okay. I was like 2000, 97, 2000. I was like, oh, then they're like, how old are you?
Yeah, nobody can guess your age for sure. And Gulu, tell me, you never traveled to the US. I've been asking you to, but
Yeah,
you never did
definitely.
get. And one of your films came here. Death in the Gunj was here, at the New York Film Festival.
I did get an opportunity. I came very close to traveling to the US a bunch of times through film festivals,
Mm-hmm.
but then somehow it didn't work out because time didn't permit. I actually have a lot of family scattered all around the US as well. A lot of my cousins live in the US. Um, I, I don't know. I never really got the opportunity to come that way, you know. So I've been to Europe a bunch of times, but never to the US. I think I should. I've never even planned a holiday to the US. I don't know why, actually. I don't know. I never really thought of going to the US. Also, I think US is a very big country, and then there are some a few places that I really want to visit. And it seems like, I just need like maybe a couple of months at least to go to the US.
Yeah, of course. And if you find yourself in New Jersey, you have a home to stay.
Yeah, sure, sure. No, no, definitely. Like New York will probably be the first place I'll be
Yeah.
landing in. So then that's New Jersey is just right next to it.
Yeah, yeah, we are. Yeah, it's a short drive away.
Yeah.
So now, do you see yourself getting into more, TV series on Netflix or Amazon or the other OTT platforms? Because that looks like that's the direction in which entertainment is going these days. Do you see yourself playing more characters for television now?
It's not really television
Yeah,
because TV over here, like in the
digital
US,
platforms.
yeah, because in the US, television is very different.
Yeah,
The whole format is very different. The writing, the way things, the production value, all those things are very different in the US. Like say
yeah.
Breaking Bad, it's a TV series. Like Game of Thrones is a TV series. Um, Television in India is very different. Like after the TV boom in the 90s, the writing and the formats and everything changed a lot. And I really, there's a style of working that I can't do. Like TV has a particular style of working which I've
Right.
seen, but I don't feel that I can consistently work like that. And I feel that the quality and the kind of stories that they tell in television doesn't really appeal to me.
Mm-hmm.
But some people can do it. I don't mean to undermine television or people who are television actors. Some people have that aptitude to work in that style, in that format. I just can't. I
Because
like,
I see you totally rocking some of those roles in series like a Sacred Games or a Patal
yeah,
Lok or
Sacred Games was actually considered, as in I was offered, I was in talks with them, but it didn't really work out because I backed out of it really initially because I didn't want, I was in life, sometimes you're in that frame of mind, you don't want to do anything violent. So I was in that kind of frame of mind. And I had also, that was a time when I had freshly injured myself and I was going through this thing. And I had just said yes to Vasan to do Mat Ko Darni Hota. So a couple of projects such as that, and then very early I was considered for Gully Boy as well for MC Share. So that also I backed out of it. I said I can't do this because I'm already committed. I'm training and I'm mentally, physically preparing for Mardh Ko Darni Hota. And as much as possible, I do actually all of my career. I've done one thing at a time. Like it's very seldom some things cross over due to very unforeseen circumstances. So if I start a project, I finish it and only then I move on to something else, which for some people would say is unwise. But then this is my preferred style of working, and I think it works for me, and I'm getting better at it also and more efficient as an actor. So I wasn't in the frame of mind to do something like that. So I had to refuse that. Yeah, sure. Like, maybe another season or something like that. I think see, what is important for me, Anand, right now is to try and balance because I still love
Mm-hmm.
cinema and I don't want to, and I know under the circumstances we are, the whole world is right now, it seems like, a lot of the cinemas will not open, but then let's be optimistic and hope that, this is not the new norm and things will change back to, uh, us not walking around with sanitizers in our hands and masks on our face, and we'll be able to sort of interact normally. So when that happens, cinemas will open again. So being a part of a very integral part of cinema is still very important for me. So, and then I
Yeah.
also consider a lot of the the series format. It is because the style of working is the same as cinema. It's not different like TV. Like here, TV style of working is very different. But when you're working on a series or when you're working on cinema, it's the same. They use the same cameras, the same kind of lighting, the same structures. The contracts are the same. So the style of working is absolutely the same. And sometimes when you do work, when you make films that are that are meant for a digital release, and that's also cinema, except that you don't get to watch it on the big screen. So I'm trying to maintain a balance because yeah.
So that leads
So
to my next question. Are you going to act in any Kannada films? Come
we
up.
discussed, like, me and Rishabh have discussed a couple of things. I
Uh,
don't know right now. Everything is up in smoke right now. So I
oh,
really don't.
Rishabh Shetty. You have discussed with Rishabh Shetty. Okay.
He is discussed with me. Like he has. I never really. To be frank with you, I grew up in. I am from Karnataka. I grew up watching, and I grew up in Karnataka. I am from there, but I always dreamt about being in Hindi films, and I
Yeah.
don't really know why exactly. I really love being that, so I'm living my dream. So that doesn't mean that I look at other industries such as our own, like Kannada industry, lowly or something like that. There's some great films happening. There's a resurgence right now of cinema, and people like Rishabh want to make cinema. They just don't want to make films. They want to make cinema.
Okay.
So
Now,
if you
would you like to act in international TV series or films, or where it's maybe shot to either
I don't know.
European or American standards? No. Do
I
you have
have
the
been
desire?
a burning desire. No, I never really fantasized about like being in Hollywood or like
Yeah.
working abroad. I never. It's funny because a lot of my influences, a lot of my craft uh, came from American actors, like watching American actors, because we had access. When I started having access to American films through when cable TV, when India opened up to the world, that's when you saw like the Hoffmans and the Hackmans and the De Niros and the Day Lewises and all that, and the Meryl Streeps. So you had access to the cinema from there, and then it was like, what are they doing? Like, why is it like? I mean, like, there are guys, we like them, they're good actors, but then there's something about them which is so real. Like, when they say something, when they swear, when they're in pain, when they cry, they're angry, it just seems like it's really happening. So in my
And
early
that's
teens,
where you got the bastard from.
so yeah, yeah. So those are my influences, but I never really, because I'm here, no, I'm rooted in this culture. I'm from India, and
No,
I've always considered myself a bit a pan-Indian. Like, I know I'm from Coorg, and I know Kodwas are a very proud community, but I don't have that same pride, that fierce pride of and sense of belonging to like one community. And perhaps that's why I'm working in Hindi cinema, because um, Hindi cinema, not the language, belongs to every Indian, regardless of where you're from. I'm not talking about the language. Like, so I feel that Hindi cinema is more important than the Hindi language, because it kind of unites us. It's a pan-Indian thing. Like, if you take a Hindi film star, like say Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, he will star anywhere. You go to Assam, you go to Lakshadweep, you go to
mm,
Andamans, you go to
mm,
Kerala. He's still a huge movie star. So
yeah.
that's the impact that Hindi cinema has, and it's pan-Indian. So maybe, and I always consider myself pan-Indian, not belonging to one particular community. I'm not trying to erase my roots or saying that I'm not, or like I don't. I'm to reject the fact that I'm from Karnataka or Coorg or something. No, I love all those things. I grew up there. So I'm not trying to detach myself from all those things. But generally, I feel a bit more like, I why should I only belong to here? Why can't I belong to like everywhere? But unfortunately, the same feeling I didn't have about uh, like being in American films or like in British shows or something. Although casting offers keep coming, there are
Mm.
representatives also who keep coming, who want to, who would like to sign me on with an agency to represent, because a lot of work is happening internationally now. So they want Indian actors or foreign actors. So I haven't really taken up anybody on their opportunities yet.
That's
I've considered it a bunch of times. Yeah.
that's
I
good.
think
Good.
you also wanted to send me some stuff. You were making something. I
Yeah,
remember a bunch of
we can talk about that separately. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So
you had messaged me earlier also. A few years back also you had messaged me.
oh yeah, all the time. At that play, I remember when I wrote Muslim in the Midst, and we were talking about it, and I told you that I had a dream of you and Irfan playing the main roles. Yeah, but he's no longer with us, sadly. Yeah. So that's something very interesting. Gulshan, because it would be awesome to work with you again. Yeah, at least do theater. Let's do a play together. Do you do theater at all?
No, I stopped doing theater. I think the last time I was properly on stage was 2014 when I was
Oh,
doing my
okay,
stage.
okay.
I had a play that was I like Mr. Sunil Chanbag, is a very eminent play director here. So I had started long back before my film career to do a play with him. So I did as many shows as possible for him, and then I think then they were closing the play, so then I stopped. So that was the only play I was doing. uh, I have so much fun working on a film set. I consider myself a proper film actor, and I lost that interest to be on stage. And I thought it is disrespectful of me to try and go back on stage if I don't really have that burning desire to be on stage. Because a lot of all of my knowledge of my confidence, everything that I know about acting, all comes from stage. And I thought that it's very disrespectful for me to just go there and just because somebody said do a play, for the heck of it, I didn't want to do it. So I retired myself. If I do get that burning desire again, then sure.
Yeah, very very strongly focused on what you want and
Yeah.
what works well for you. That's excellent, Gulshan. So, where do you go from here? Are you planning on continuing exactly where you are, or do you have other ambitions of getting into the direction side, or the production side of the business?
Not production side. I did consider briefly about direction because I had a couple of stories that seemed interesting that I wanted to write, and I had started sort of roughly jotting them down. But then I kind of lost interest. It'll probably come back again, and then I'll probably do that again. It's funny because when I was growing up, until my like early 20s, I was interested in a lot of things. I wanted to do a lot of things. But since I moved here to Mumbai and started focusing on my acting, I just want to do one thing. A lot of my friends, my wife used to say that, like, like you do nothing else. You just like when I'm not working, I'm just at home. I'm doing nothing. I don't do anything if I don't have to. Like now, I do housework because I have to because of the current situation. But otherwise, I wouldn't do that also. I'd probably be like reading scripts or like watching some kind of a video or something like that, or learning something or something. But hardly do anything or hardly think about it. So I don't have a variety of interests. I think my journey is to see how far I can go doing what I'm doing, where it will take me, because I really don't know where it will take me. I don't have a fixed destination. I have certain things that I'd like to achieve, but then that's not the final destination because I have decided not to give myself a final destination. Ideally, I know the world doesn't work that way, but if I had to wish for an ending, I would say that I want to stop when I feel like I'm done.
So, what would be your advice to 20-year-old Gulshan?
Uh, I don't know. I have become so accepting of things.
I didn't
Yeah,
think that's
I
such a
think
tough
20-year-old
question.
question. Yeah, my advice would be that this world is an absurd place, and a lot of things that you desire will doesn't quite really work out the way it is. It's okay, but eventually everything will be all right. So I think that's what I would say. But I'm not really sure if 20-year-old person will understand what I'm saying about the world being absurd. And then we choose certain paths that create meaning for our. Otherwise, life is really absurd. So we give ourselves something to do, and my chosen path is acting in cinema. So that gives my life meaning.
See, the world is changing as we see it now, right? Because of COVID and because of, as it
Yeah.
is, the technology had kind of disrupted quite a few already. And now there's a new wave of actors and young talent that's wanting to enter Bollywood from different parts of the world. Like I see right here in New Jersey and New York area, which is replete with talent. People, are there's so much of raw talent, so much of passion, and people
Yeah.
taking lessons and classes and wanting to be in Bollywood and working hard. Now you are somebody who came from Bangalore to Bombay. It's not as far as New York to Bombay, but In the current situation, not exactly the prevailing situation, but maybe when everything comes back to normal, how realistic do you think their chances are, given your experience as a backdrop?
It's a very real chance. It is a chance as long as you are aware that it is a chance. Then you're okay. I mean, you have to come here prepared. Like it really, see, some people would come here, they have this get rich or die method. I'm saying that even that is okay as long as you realize that die is also one of the options, outcomes. So, do you want to sprint or do you want to run a marathon? You choose, but then eventually you may not get any of those things that you want. Then how equipped are you to handle that loss, and how many times? Because it can happen a lot. Some people find overnight success. Some people will have to wait for like 20, 25 years to find their perceived idea of success. Success also is a perception. No? It really don't know. What is it? Success is like you've done lots of films, or like you have lots of money, or you're a huge star. Like what is success? So that it's a bit everybody have their own can have their own philosophical idea of success also. So it is tough. The entertainment business, wherever it is a tough business. But it doesn't mean that nobody has a place for it. I wouldn't discourage people. I would only say that equip yourself. Like a lot of people are really good with their craft. Like the learning must be yes, your craft also, but you have to learn how to focus on your career. You have to learn how to not take things personally, so that things don't personally affect you that much. So that way you're protected and insulated from pain, and because it's very judgmental, because people will judge you everywhere. You go to an audition, you're judged, right? You're chosen because like, this person is a. You can't really determine who is more talented or who is a better actor than others. Sometimes you lose job because people think that somebody is better looking, somebody is not better looking, somebody has a better physique, or we need somebody with like a huge physique, with big arms and abs or something like that. So so you are going to be judged. So you have to equip yourself. You have to really come with all these things prepared for this, and you have to be okay with losing.
So you're essentially in the world of labels right now.
Yeah,
There's an arthouse actor, there's a star actor, there is the
yeah.
character actor. That's and as much as I hate to ask this question because I don't believe in them. Have you ever had to label yourself at any point?
I have refused to fall in any labels, and but people label me. I'm sure they slot me in things, and I think it's convenient also because it helps people look at people a certain way, and which is why I've been a bit selective in the films that I'm doing, because I'm constantly trying to also throw them off a little bit. And
Mm.
I also feel that sometimes, like a lot of them, they really appreciate my work, but they don't really know what to do with me because they're very confused, because I don't sometimes, like like they can't put me in a certain box and saying that, oh, he's that kind of an actor. So far I've managed to be surprising. That's also because I'm a bit paced out. Like I'm not really running as fast. Like, I'm not churning out work left, right, and center. So, and if people label me, they label me. It's okay. Like I try my best not to be affected by it. I would lie if I say if it absolutely doesn't affect me. Sometimes it does, but then I try to get over it and not take it personally.
Yeah,
I would never.
the only
I know
label I
people
would
are.
give you is actor.
That's it, yeah. And I know people like best actor, best supporting actor. There are certain articles. And actually, like it's funny. There was a portal that was doing an article about about how certain actors, supporting actors are like called, or like how they're compartmentalized or something. So then I left a very smart comment on Twitter saying that first stop calling them supporting actors.
Yeah.
Like you're writing an article as to how people slot them, and you yourself are like labeling them. You know,
Yeah, that's how it is.
yeah,
So, Gulu, that was amazing chatting with you after such a long time and seeing
very
you.
long time.
And it is like
Yes,
time has come to a standstill. You haven't changed at all, at least from what I see you.
no, I've changed a lot. I've
Yeah,
become a lot wiser.
of course you would have. Of course you would have. But that's maybe you were wiser even back then too. You never know. Um, yeah,
No,
a little naive, probably.
I'm
Do you
very,
agree?
I was very naive, very
Okay.
naive, very aspirational, very naive.
Yeah, now yes, it comes with the years and with the experience and everything, and it's so good. And so one last time, let's talk to our Kannada audience again. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಮೆರಿಕ ಬಂಧುಗಳೇ, ಕನ್ನಡ ಬಂಧುಗಳೇ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಹುಡುಗ ಗುಲ್ಶನ್ ದೇವಯ್ಯ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯ್ತು.
ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಜಾಲಹಳ್ಳಿ, ಮತ್ತಿಕೆರೆ. ಈಗ ತಾಯಿ ಮತ್ತಿಕೆರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಈಗ.
ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಲ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀಯ? ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಹೋಗ್ತೀಯಾ?
ಈಗ ಈ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದು ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೈ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ಇಮ್ಯುನೋಸಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್, ಶಿ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಕೀಪ್ಸ್ ಹರ್ ಇಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಲೋ. ಸೊ ನನಗೆ ಭಯ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಾನು ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಫೇರ್ಲಿ ಹೆಲ್ದಿ, ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ಲೈಕ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೈಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಆಸ್ ಫೇರ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಫ್ ಐ ಟೇಕ್ ಇಟ್, ಮೈ ಮದರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಬಬ್ಲಿ ನಾಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್. ತಂದೆನೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ 74 ಈಗ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಬೋತ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಏಜ್ ಬ್ರಾಕೆಟ್ ವೇರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಸೆಪ್ಟಬಲ್ ಟು ಕೋವಿಡ್-19 infections. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿ 6 weeks ನಾನು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಎವ್ರಿ 6 weeks ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ 1 ದಿವಸ 2 ದಿವಸ ಹಾಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ, ಲಾಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಲಾಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಸ್ mostly once in 4, 5 or 6 months.
So that's wonderful. So thank you very much, Gulu. It was great chatting with you, and I hope our aspiring actors will be inspired by your story, and will borrow a leaf from your amazing life, which I think is an ongoing journey. We wish you the best of luck, and you have all our support in surging forward in whatever you want to aspire in your life and your career.
Thank you so much. But I have also noticed a lot of young people are a lot smarter than we think they are.
ಅಮೆರಿಕ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಏರಿಯಾಗೆ ತಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಅಲ್ಲಿಯ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮನರಂಜನೆ ಎರಡನ್ನೂ ನಿಮಗೆ ಒದಗಿಸಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಧ್ಯೇಯ.
ನಮ್ಮೇರಿಕಾ ವಿಶೇಷ ವಾಹಿನಿ ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ.